Hi, everybody. Welcome to our session of a demonstration of the capabilities of the product. And, I wanted to give you a sense of an application that we are building in-house. And I hope it's in a shape where it's demoable. But a couple of weeks ago, I was asking our developer advocacy team to build an application where we can track the various events that we go to and the associated stuff that we sort of do there, the talks we present, the nature of feedback of those talks, an analysis on all of that to see where we should be sort of spending more of our time on. So we wanted an application that allows us to track this in a global manner and gives us insights as to how we ought to be doing the developer advocacy function better. So that's the sort of requirement that I talked to them about a few weeks ago. Let's get a sense of where that application is from one of our senior developers in that. So to give you a sense of where that is, let me invite to this session to do the demo with me here, Mark Campbell. He's our Director of Product and Solution Marketing, and he is pretty well versed in this application. So Mark, welcome. Good to see you.
Thanks, Ravi. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I was really proud to show you our progress thus far, Ravi. We've made some really good progress in a short amount of time, thanks to Couchbase. It made it easy, mostly because of Nickel. It allowed us to leverage our existing skills in SQL. Mm-hmm. So really easy to do.
Beautiful. Could you start us off with a very high level state of being in the, then me, I'll start needling you with, is this there or not there kind of questions.
Sure. This ought to be fun. So first of all, Nickel, we can't emphasize enough how much of a boon to developer productivity this is. So I'll start out in the Couchbase console just to give you a sense of our infrastructure. We're running currently a server with a single node. We've got a bucket with our data. Console helps us manage all of that. But one of the coolest things that's built right in, unlike some other offerings, is a query editor. So it allows us to work with the data without utilizing other tools. So one of the things I wanted to kind of showcase is that you can leverage your ubiquitous knowledge of SQL. Everybody knows SQL. So for example, here, I'm going to do a query against our talks that are stored within the data. And notice that it's just a simple select from where. So we're going to select the title from event sprint, which is our bucket or analogous to the database, where the document type is of talk. And so here we have all of the talks that are coming through that particular service.
Beautiful. Can you show that in the application for us? Is it easy to see that, or do you want to hit a few more of these queries before you want to show me how the app looks?
Sure. Yeah. Another point I did want to make sure I made is that unlike other JSON technologies, you can do joins in Nickel. And that's actually a really kind of a big deal because you can't do so in some competitive offerings. So in this case, we're actually, I'm going to join up our developers, our users on the talks that they've submitted and be able to bring this back. And here we can now see all of the talks that have been accepted for each one of our main speakers.
Fantastic. So this is not your usual Mickey Mouse database, is it? So it can do some serious joins and sort of bring some Cartesian products and get you information from across a couple of documents.
Exactly. So this is fundamental to the reason that we've been able to be so productive thus far.
Lovely. Now over to the application, huh?
Yeah, so let's actually log straight in. I'm going to log in to the app from scratch. And we'll go in as another one of our colleagues here. We've been using him as a test. So just hit login.
1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. It's going to log in eventually, right? All right.
Yeah, let's take a look at our calendar for a second. And
we can start counting here. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Wow.
Hmm.
All right. What
Let
else?
me go to
Show me all the
conferences.
conferences.
Yeah, let's take a look at that.
This wasn't
Still.
so bad. But it's anyway sluggish. Mark, would you agree, or am I overreacting to the performance here?
I completely agree, Ravi. And luckily, Couchbase makes it really easy to fix this. So it's easy to do this with Couchbase. So it's a fact that JSON document databases rely on indexing for performance. And it's kind of due to that schemaless hierarchical nature of the documents and the way the data is stored.
Yeah.
So let's take a look behind the scenes at another query here. So at this point, I'll go in. This is the query that actually builds out that slow screen, that conferences screen that we saw. And it's actually making a join here across the editions and the conferences, and then bringing back that information. And it's not terribly complex, but let's actually execute it and see what happens.
It's running and it's running, is it?
It is almost 5 seconds. So I think we might have actually stumbled on part of our problem here.
Good.
So I think setting an index will really help speed things up. And JSON databases, again, rely on that for performance because of that hierarchical nature of the documents. But unfortunately, I'm not much of an index expert, but luckily Couchbase makes it really easy for guys like me. So see this advise button?
Yep.
So this actually will allow us to get index advice from Couchbase. It will tell us where we actually need to set our indices. So here, all I had to do was run advise on that long query. It went out, interrogated all of the various documents, and has given me this advice. So in order to actually build it, all I have to do is just click this button, and we can then get that index.
And that will start the index creation process.
Exactly.
Beautiful. And what about our community of users and others who may not have this latest and greatest version, but yet they could use the lovely capability that's out here?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ravi. And in fact, let's go ahead and show a resource that we've put aside just for the community at large. So what I'll do is take this query and copy it. And I'm going to go to a resource that we've put online just for the developer community to be able to leverage this no matter what version of Couchbase you're on. index-advisor.couchbase.com. So what it is not only a showcase of the advisor with a little built-in sample query, it allows you to paste in your own query and get that advice. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in that underperforming query in our application, and I'll hit advise. So just that quick, we've been able now to bring back all of the recommended indices that we should try and implement. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this first index, the covering index. Good. So we'll just simply copy that. And that's all we have to do. Now I'll go back into Couchbase and let's pop it in. I'll copy it in here and we'll go ahead and run it. So again, Couchbase makes it easy. I didn't have to even write any code whatsoever. In fact, we just run what was recommended. Lovely. It's now added this index. So let's now go back and run that slower running query and see how that actually performs. Bam. 27 milliseconds, down from almost 5 seconds.
5 seconds.
Yeah. So
let's see how the application looks now. You can show me all the magic here, but the map is still sluggish.
Good point. So now pops right up. Now our calendar pops right up.
All right.
See everybody's calendar. Conferences pop right up. Everything is really performant now thanks to Index Advisor. So Couchbase made it really easy to be able to do that.
Lovely, lovely. I think I like that in terms of how, just like you showed out there, pretty quickly you can diagnose the problem, figure out the right recommendation, and create the index, and you're back in business.
Couchbase makes it easy.
Lovely. And, there are a lot of functionality here, but, always we start with users. I can see the names of many of the users here. How is our user management feature coming along. There are a lot of capabilities of the users that we want to really track here. Do you have the user profile and user management piece in decent shape?
Yeah, we do. As a matter of fact, Couchbase made that part easy as well. So one of the reasons that we're so well set up, first I'll show you account properties for an individual user.
Mm-hmm.
And here we can see all of the properties. Let's correlate that now to how it's actually stored in the database. And this is one of the other key value points of Couchbase and JSON in general, is that we're able to store the entirety of user attributes in a single document. The reason that's important is that because in a relational world, user attributes are sometimes spread across multiple tables. And that's for, efficiency on the relational side, but it can also really slow down things, especially when you start to get massive numbers of users. But within Couchbase, it's all stored in one place. And that means it's easy for us to actually model. It's more efficient for us to work with, and it's easy for us to develop towards as well.
No, it's easy for me to spot a few things also. Can we go back to the screen that you showed me of the user properties?
Sure. Here again, you see all of those properties that we just saw on the database side.
It's something is very conspicuously missing here, Mark.
Uh-oh.
Which is, these social media things, proliferate. They're like mushrooms. So what about TikTok becomes the question now. You don't seem to have that here. And that's the next popular thing. And tomorrow there'll be another one after that. So we got to be able to quickly address these sort of needs that keeps coming from from our users. So would you be able to add TikTok soon enough, or make provisions not just for TikTok, tomorrow something else, Bleat or something else might show up? So how do we safeguard ourselves against these sort of new requirements?
Yeah, that's a great question. And again, that's really easy to do with Couchbase. So let's actually do that on the fly. I hope to actually honor your request in real time here, Ravi.
Right on stage, you want to do that? You want to extend the application?
Well, because Couchbase makes it so darn easy. That's one of the reasons. Wow. So here I'm now behind the scenes. We're actually looking, and I'll turn off our application, and I'm going to make a change on the fly. We're looking at the user entity class.
Stop the application. I hope it comes back up.
Oh, it definitely will. And it's going to come back up with even more information. So in this case, we're looking at the user class. So this is the user entity class. This is where all of the properties and attributes are defined for the users in the application. And a big benefit to using Couchbase is that I can add a new user attribute right here. And I don't have to change any other code. In effect, I can dynamically change and improve the data schema to fit our application like a glove.
Wow.
So let's go in and actually add TikTok. And there we have it. I'll just save it. Let's restart our application, and I'll show you how that actually cascades through everything.
Wow. All you have to do this is sort of add one more property to your user profile class or wherever you're sitting here, and that's it. And you recompile the app and you're ready to deploy it. That's all you're doing?
That's right, exactly.
Sorry, in this case, not compiling.
We're actually just going ahead and rebuilding, and now let's go back into the application. And I'll just log in again from scratch. And you'll notice the login is quite a bit snappier.
Yes.
Let's go and take a look at our user settings.
Yes.
And
there is TikTok.
There's TikTok. And I'm going to, let's put it, this is for our colleague, Dennis. Let's say his TikTok handle is Dancin' Dennis. I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sure. That.
So we've gone ahead and done that. Now let's come back and I'll retrieve that document one more time. And there we have it.
Beautiful. So, TikTok Dancin' Dennis is sitting there.
That's right. And the real magic here is that all we had to do was add it into the user entity.
Yes.
And it was inherited by Couchbase and actually added to the data. And so this schemaless nature is what allows us to be ready for adding anything on the fly in the future. So hopefully that meets your requirement, Ravi.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, what you showed me was that you extended just the business logic here, the document or your schema just extended, and now it's stored in the database and you're able to retrieve it. This is sort of something that would have taken a lot more effort back in the day when I used to sit and program. So looks like you picked the right kind of a platform to build this stuff. So that is good. Now, it was fantastic to see that you actually sort of stopped the application, just edited the code and restarted the application, and magic happened. Fantastic to see. And you showed from the database that data being retrieved with the new sort of new parameter and its value, Dance and Dennis. Lovely. Now, you know how these days we are all spoiled and we want to look for information in sort of haphazard manner. If I want to look for anything here, the first thought that comes to me is, can I search this thing? Do we have any search implemented?
Let's take a look. I'll actually go into the Conference Explorer.
Yeah.
And let's look for Couchbase Connect.
That's a good one to look for.
Yeah. And
there it is, loading. Oh, no results, it said it.
But we know it's there. I think I know why. And I think Couchbase will make it easy to fix.
I see. I'm beginning to hear a refrain here.
Well, the fact is that currently we're doing our search in a rudimentary way. We're only accepting exact matches.
I see.
What we need is full text search. That's what we really need here. And luckily, Couchbase makes it easy again because it's built right in. I can just very easily create a full text search index.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that you don't need a search system, then you have to write a crawler from here to there and all that stuff?
No Solr, no Elasticsearch, no third-party nonsense at all. It's all built right here into Couchbase.
Beautiful.
So let's go ahead and create that full text search. And I'm going to just make it fairly straightforward. We're going to search, we'll give it a name and make it search against the event sprint bucket. And the document type here is _class. Then I'm going to very quickly add a type mapping. So for this, I'm going to pull in one of my documents. So we'll just copy that. And I'll pull in, we're going to use this conference. We'll enable searching for conference, which is where we just saw a little bit less than stellar performance. So I'm going to say, okay. And now I will go into advanced and we'll say we want to store the dynamic fields. And that was it. I only had to check a couple of boxes. Now the index is progressing. And when it hits 100%, we can even test it directly in the interface. So Couchbase Connect. And we get back all these matches. So yeah, lots of cool stuff, but now we need to make sure that the application can take advantage of FTS.
Yes.
So similarly, this is very straightforward. So here I'm in the Conference Explorer. This is where that particular screen and search functionality is actually implemented. So we won't go through the entirety of the code, but I will point out that this is our search query. So this is, again, standard SQL. We're using Nickel to make that query, but this is where we're actually only returning an exact match. So we actually need to get rid of that offending code and replace it. So instead, what I'll do is replace it with another simple line of code. So here we're actually, notice the only difference here is I'm calling the search function right within my Nickel query.
Got it.
And so what I'll do is save that. Then we restart. And let's give it just a moment to rebuild, and we'll try that search again.
Now your search box out there will give me some results, not say no result. Is that what you're going
It
to
better.
the
And in
application.
fact, I know it will. Yeah, because again, Couchbase makes even complex things like full text search really straightforward.
Very
So
nice.
this done,
Yep.
let's jump in and log in once again to Event Sprint. And we'll visit the Conference Explorer.
Couchbase Connect. All right. Now it is showing us all the Connect tokens wherever it is sort of matching that.
Exactly. Any part of this search query is being compared against all of the event documents. But it knew right off the bat that Couchbase Connect scored the highest, and so pushed that right to the top.
Basically, Couchbase Connect or any combination of these two words is what is showing up down there, right?
Exactly.
Beautiful, lovely. I was noticing something else earlier, which I meant to ask. Perhaps it was premature to ask you, but could we go back to that user profile one more time? I saw you showed me something right under TikTok, which got my attention.
I
And
think you.
I would love to see, yes. Can you show that page for us where we saw the credits thing? If you can transfer credits, have you guys sort of implemented this, or what's the state of this?
Yeah, we actually got the idea inspired by you, Ravi. I know that you wanted to enable user credits to reward users who are performing well. And so
Yep.
we put it in, and not only that, we went ahead and added the ability for users to even transfer credits from
Wow.
themselves or other users to other users. So in this
Amazing.
case, yeah, let's say that I've got a pretty fair amount of credits, but I want to reward Dennis. He's only got 230. He's been such a huge help for this application. Let's go ahead and give him another 100 credits.
Wow. All right, you gave him 100 credits. So 100 went off yours and 100 went into his. This is what is typically known as a transaction. So what system did you have to use in the back to sort of get this transaction done?
Yeah, that's really, you're right. Other JSON databases make it kind of hard to do transactions, but it's really easy with Couchbase. And the complexity of transactions really comes in writing to multiple documents while ensuring that all those writes happen accurately. So I'm happy to say, in fact, that Couchbase includes a transactions feature, and it allows us to write to those multiple documents at once while enforcing data integrity, all in a single action. And it's available today in the Couchbase Java SDK.
Nice.
So now we're once again looking a bit behind the scenes. This is our transfer credit service. This is where the logic for transferring credit lives. You essentially choose a transfer to user and a transfer from user. Choose how many credits to transfer. And then when the credits are transferred, we save both user documents and commit the transaction. Just these few little lines of code, we're able to implement that transaction feature. So let's actually even show evidence of that. Notice that I have now 570, Dennis has 330. We're not just asking you to take our word for it that accurate information has been written back. Let's open up the documents themselves. And there's Dennis. He's got his 330.
Yep.
And if we look at Mr. Gamble, I've got my 570.
All right. Consistency for you. Nice.
Indeed.
It's a multi-document asset transaction is what you just showed over there. Is that the right way to call it?
That's right. Yeah, this is a full-on transaction, just the way you would see in major enterprise level applications. And we were able to implement it easily by just calling the feature in our Java SDK.
This is my lucky day. Whatever I've been hoping to see, just been able to produce one after the other. So perhaps I should push my luck further. We've been talking about a few other futuristic stuff like, what if you're able to track trends of talks that people are doing and further look into, other productivity measures and stuff like that. So what are your thoughts on sort of how we can sort of, now that you're able to develop this fast, can we explore ability to sort of look at trends and stuff like that?
Sure. Again, I think Couchbase really is going to make that easy as well. We have an eventing feature just for cases like this, where we want to call an external service
Yeah.
based on the state of the data. So in fact, let's just take a quick look at the eventing, how that's actually set up within the server. So eventing allows for you to input JavaScript. So if we take a look at the JavaScript, we've just deployed this, as a matter of fact. It's a simple script that we're calling an external set of REST services. So anytime a new user adds a talk, that talk title is going to be sent off to the Google Trends API, which will then evaluate its popularity.
Wow.
It'll write it back to the database, but it will also send us an email. So it'll send the user an email who just entered that talk with the score of their Google Trends talk topic. So if we wanted to
experimental nature, or can you sort of show how this works?
Yeah, let's take a look at how it works. And again, Couchbase made it really easy. So I'm going to go into the talk, and I'll add a brand new talk. We're going to add one on the fly here. NoSQL with no equal.
All right.
We'll make that in English, and I'll just put an abstract, and we'll keep it simple just to get to the back end. So I'm going to save that. And that's now kicking off that routine. It's kicking off the script that is calling out to a REST service, going out to the Google Trends API, getting that particular score, and here we have it. There's our email just popped up, and the information's also been written back to my talk itself.
Fantastic. Can we see that new talk in the system, or is it just this email that we get to see?
Yeah, the talk is actually right here. So we're actually seeing it. And this is I just entered it on the fly, and it's now part of the system and it already has that associated data along with it.
Is there a list of talks that you showed me earlier?
Yeah. There we are.
There we are. NoSQL with no equal. Beautiful. There it is, the one that you showed. Thank you. Wow, lovely. So you entered a talk, and we got the Google Trend information out of that in the email. Now we can make further sort of tweaks to what sort of topics and talks we ought to be doing. This seems a pretty good one to be talking about. 86 is a pretty decent score.
Indeed, exactly. And I'll definitely attribute the increased awareness out there of NoSQL to Couchbase.
Lovely. Yeah, I think anything I ask you, you're going to tell me, well, it's easy to do with Couchbase, looks like.
Well, thankfully it really is. So that's a fact. Now,
pushing my luck further, we wanted to look for insights in this in terms of, the analytics of it. We want to see the reports of the talks and people in which regions, and all that kind of analysis, slice and dice this thing to see how effective the advocacy outreach that we are doing is. Any luck with, since I saw a bunch of SQL that you could run and stuff like that, is there any simple reports that we could do?
Sure. Couchbase makes that easy as well. So
I knew you were going to say that.
So one of the things I wanted to do is come over, I'll just refresh this, to the analytics service. So Couchbase comes equipped with an MPP-based analytics engine called the analytics service, and it provides that parallel data management capability, allowing the running of complex analytic queries without any impact to overall database performance. So here, what I've been able to do is, in fact, create an analytics data set of our Event Sprint users. So in this case, I will go ahead and run that, and we can say, well, these are all of the users now coming from Event Sprint. And we can combine this with other data within Couchbase and ultimately build an analytics data store that we can then manipulate and analyze.
Mark, half the time, this is a challenge with the analytics side of the world, right? Half the time, the data is not just sitting in one system. At least there is one other system involved or a couple of systems. And, half the time, more than half the time these days, some of the information is actually sitting in the cloud in some providers, some data store. Are there ways for you to pull that information in? Because only then this gets interesting. Otherwise, it's fairly simple.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And in fact, I think I've got a good answer for you because Couchbase makes this easy as well. So I've come over now to EC2. This is my S3 bucket. And
Wow.
yeah.
There's an S3 integration here?
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll actually bring some data that I have stored in S3. So external data sets are a feature of Couchbase Analytics. And so here we have archived data on conference session ratings. This is the ratings that are given by an attendee for a given user's talk. We can see them here as they sit on S3.
I see.
The data is harvested from various event conference hosts and then archived here in S3. But to your point, it's not doing us a whole lot of good sitting in S3. But we don't have to actually go through any process of bringing it into Couchbase. We can actually link directly to this from Couchbase itself.
Fantastic. You don't have to copy this data, you're saying?
No copy at all.
Wow.
So in fact, what we've done is, in fact, created an external data set. And this is coming via a simple link from S3. So if you recall, I just showed what the document looks like. But now I'm going to query it utilizing our simple select statement. And here's all of that data coming from S3. We didn't load it into Couchbase at all. And it's very easy to query, just like anything else in Couchbase.
Lovely. And the data is still sitting there. It's an S3. You're just establishing a connectivity to that. And then the results is what I'm seeing here.
That's correct. Exactly.
Okay.
And the real value, I think, arguably, yes, exactly. Couchbase makes that easy as well. So and to your point earlier, Ravi, I couldn't have said it better. That really, analytics, one of the great challenges is merging disparate data sets. But here, what we're doing is actually bringing back all of the reviews for a given talk, as well as all of the information about the speaker.
Very
and
good.
So that way, some data is coming out of Couchbase, some is from S3, and we're actually able to gain richer insight by leveraging this information.
Beautiful. It's fantastic to see. Now, it's all fantastic for me and you, people who have played with data, to see the magic that's happening here. But, unless you can actually see it in some sort of visual manner, sometimes you can't make, there's too many squiggly braces here and quotations. I can't see trends or I can't see patterns in this thing. Is there any way to, with your growing trend, I don't know what your answer could be, but let me ask cautiously, is there any way to see this in a visual manner?
Well, I'm happy to say that as well. It's easy to do with Couchbase. And it's really this ability to use plain SQL that makes it especially easy to use BI tools, business intelligence tools. So everybody has heard of Power BI, Tableau, ClickTech, etc., Looker, and the like. And so this following really applies across the entirety of any given BI tool, and that's the ability to pass plain SQL to Couchbase and retrieve the information and then visualize it.
Do you need like ODBC and JDBC connectors and stuff like that to get this thing going? You set up those things, or how does this?
Yeah, happy to say that we don't require any third-party service to be able to connect to Couchbase. So what I'm going to do, in fact, is
I'm even more curious now.
Yeah, I'm going to grab a quick query here, and let's plug it in. And what I'll do is actually access a web data source. What this will allow us to do is take advantage of the Couchbase Analytics Service REST API to retrieve this data. And that means that all we have to do in order to call it, in fact, is pass a simple URL. There we are. And then I'll pick back up. So it's very easy. Amongst all of these other connectors, we don't have to bother with anything like ODBC or JDBC. We'll use the web connector. Okay. And then I'm going to plug in a simple URL. And you might even recognize this. This is that join query that I plugged in just a moment ago to unite the S3 data with the Couchbase data. And here, all I'm doing is sending that query in the query statement here through our analytics service REST API. So there was no third-party driver that we had to install. In fact, there wasn't even any complexity of unnesting the data. It just comes back as a result.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can go ahead and say, let's turn this into a table.
Wow. So
And once we do
all
this,
the squiggly braces will be gone now.
exactly.
All right, I'm used to this format.
So here, this is in fact how we can start to visualize it, just like if we were doing a report against a spreadsheet. It's just that easy.
Mm-hmm.
So in fact, let's go in and for the sake of brevity, I've actually pre-created a couple of visualizations here, leveraging that data coming back in real time from S3 and from Couchbase. So here we're calculating the average rating historically by speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we have another tab where we're calculating the average rating by topic category.
Lovely.
So both of these now visualizing that data, we are gaining that extra insight, if you will. And the real value here also comes when we publish it. So if we want to take advantage of the embeddable nature of most of these BI tools, if I hit publish, it then goes into the web, out onto the web where I can grab an embed code. So I'll grab that. We'll just copy that. And let's actually plug this into the application.
I know you're going to say that. This is fantastic. So you can see the visualization right on the application then.
Exactly. And that's really taking advantage of the power of the BI tools. We didn't have to actually code anything.
Wow.
And we end up with an integrated visualization within the application that's interactive.
Wow.
And we were able to, again, this is representing data from S3 as well as from Couchbase, and here now part and parcel with the user experience. And Couchbase made it super
pick up
easy.
Data from like Couchbase and S3 and use a tool like Power BI to generate a visualization, and it's appearing back in the event sprint application. This is a lot of sort of magic happening in the background for it to look, this simple. Fantastic. It's gone, the full circle of everything from the standpoint of developing an application, all the way from showing me key value and sort of extending the attribute of the user to whole set of nickel queries and then search and now this analytics. How about now deploying this? This is a fairly sophisticated application to the extent that I could hear you. Every time I asked you a question, it's like, well, Couchbase can do that. So I'm assuming that there is like no other data management infrastructure involved, no search, no analytics, no separate object stores, and no, well, that was an S3 integration, but the data was sort of, you're visualizing it here. So it's pretty much just Couchbase server running here.
That's correct, and that's really all we need to power this entire application. So,
and your lovely application logic here. Now, how about deployment of this thing? As in, it's good, but as you know, these days, how we all say that I need the availability of this one, 5 nines and 8 nines, and so first deploying this and then scaling it and all that. The deployment, the DevOps portion of it comes to play in my mind. Are we well set up for it, or how would you summarize that?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, and I hope I'm not seeming overly repetitive, but Couchbase makes that easy too. By leveraging Kubernetes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've all heard of Kubernetes. Kubernetes, of course, is a container orchestration system for automating application deployment, scaling, and management. Couchbase is ideally suited to take advantage of Kubernetes for deployment, and it offers the autonomous operator, and it's our best friend when it comes to managing Couchbase cluster deployments. So let's take a look. So we're now looking.
What's this?
Yeah. This is, I thought there are probably a lot of folks going, what is this? Especially those that use the Kubernetes CLI.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Lens. It's the new IDE from Kubernetes for managing containers,
mm-hmm.
and it'll make deployment even easier than using the CLI.
I see. So this is not Couchbase.
This is not Couchbase, exactly.
Nice.
So this is our deployment environment on Kubernetes. So here we have 3 raw AWS EC2 nodes. And under the pods here, we see only Couchbase Autonomous Operator is currently running, along with Autonomous Operator Admission, which is a validator. The rest of the things here that are running are just Kubernetes resources, but nothing that has anything to do with our deployment yet. So what I'm going to do is start up our Couchbase cluster, and we'll examine the YAML as that comes online.
Sure.
So I'll go ahead and this is our YAML. So I'm going to create. And that will start spinning up those resources. And now let's go examine what that YAML file is actually doing. So the YAML file is really the de facto authority for Kubernetes, and it provides the absolute settings and configurations for our Couchbase cluster. And any attempt to alter these settings will be overridden by those that are defined here in the YAML file. So here we see things like settings for our bucket, the Couchbase cluster name, Couchbase API and server version, failover settings, and most importantly, the server service and cluster settings. So I'm currently specifying the nodes here, 3 of them running all services. But if we wanted, we could easily assign individual services to a specific number of nodes. And if we expect a query heavy application, for example, assign more nodes to just the query service. Or if we expect a lot of,
One moment, Mark, sorry.
Sure.
When you say all services, is that the list that you see underneath it, the data, index, query, search, eventing, analytics? Is that what it means by all services?
Exactly. So we're basically running all services equally across all 3 nodes. But multi-dimensional scaling means that you can say 1 node for data, 2 for index, 4 for query, etc. So for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to run them all in this particular case.
Makes sense.
So at this point now, let's pop back over and look. And there's our 3 nodes. They didn't exist earlier, so they're up and running.
Nice.
So let's go ahead and take a look at our Couchbase cluster that's just been spun up. So I'm going to log into that. And we'll take a look. So here we see our Couchbase cluster just spun up moments ago, thanks to Autonomous Operator and Kubernetes. It has all of the configurations that we actually put in. These are the 3 nodes that are running behind the scenes.
Very good.
And we have our initial bucket. Here's our servers. And then in our buckets, we have our initial application data already loaded.
Fantastic. So, but Mark, this is, I'm glad you're showing this, but the moment you showed me those 3 nodes running there, the first thought that occurred to me was, well, that's a hope and a prayer that all systems are always running kind of stuff. What if one of those servers were to fail, or, how do we protect ourselves in case of sort of any kind of outage scenarios? What's the semantics of what happens?
Sure. Well, let's actually take a look. I've also just deployed our Couchbase, our event sprint. Beautiful. There it is. So here's the initial set of data. Now let's go back. So Ravi, you just suggested, what happens actually if some part of the environment becomes unstable, or heaven forbid, goes down. Well, luckily, Couchbase and its leveraging of Kubernetes via the autonomous operator will actually help us recover, and I won't have to do anything. So for example, here, we've got our 3rd of 3 nodes. I'm going to go ahead and actually do the unthinkable. I'm going to take this out of commission. We're going to just delete it.
Wow.
And not only that's dramatic, because we're also using ephemeral storage, which means now all of the data on that node has actually been lost to the ages. So in fact, as we go back into our servers, notice here that I'm not clicking anything. So this is the work of Kubernetes and Autonomous Operator working for us. So Couchbase has already detected that node is unresponsive and has failed over to the other available nodes. So
I,
that happened automatically, but there's a replacement node also being created by Kubernetes that will be detected by autonomous operator,
mhm.
which we see here.
Wow.
So that new instance was just detected and joined up to the cluster automatically and is now going through its rebalance scenario. Again, I wasn't moving, the mouse wasn't touching anything. So this is a
Mouse is on
showcase
top of
of,
the server.
yeah.
Move it. Looks like
Uh,
you're doing something on the server. No, it's just
yeah, so
basically doing everything behind the scenes.
exactly. I didn't touch a thing. And the best part is that during these failover scenarios, the user community at large is completely ignorant that anything has gone wrong because the application remains
Fully,
responsive.
I see. So because it was able to serve the data from those two nodes and then recover until this node came back up.
Exactly. And there was absolutely transparent to the users. They had no idea anything was happening. So we were able to maintain that high availability even during catastrophic failure.
Oh, that's fantastic. How about the other side of the coin, which is if you have to scale up? Now you showed me a scenario when it sort of scaled down, yet it was able to function. But what if it's the season and there's a lot more traffic? Can we this autonomous operator is giving me ideas. Can it scale up as
as
well?
as a matter of fact, that's another thing that Couchbase makes really easy. We can scale up, and just as we saw it fail over automatically, it will accommodate our extra scale automatically. So in this case, we're still running our current deployment. What I'm going to do is actually open the YAML behind our Couchbase cluster, and we'll go ahead and edit it in real time. So we know this is going to be a hugely popular application.
Yep.
These are all the settings, by the way. So let's actually size up for that. You know, we know that the masses are going to be coming. So I'm going to increase this now to be, instead of 3 nodes, 4 nodes. And we can really make it any that we want. But the key here is that I'm able to do it on the fly. This is done. And now let's pop back over into Couchbase. And that new node, actually, which is being spun up, again, will once Kubernetes is done spinning it up, it's detected by autonomous operator, automatically joined to the cluster, and then automatically rebalanced on the fly.
If I remember, all you did was go make the 3 into a 4.
That was it.
You have to run anything else after that, or just save the file and that's about it?
That was it. Just save the file, and Kubernetes and autonomous operator took over for me.
Fantastic.
So this is, one of the ways in which we're not only, Couchbase is not only making it easy to deploy, but it's making us future-proof, because we'll be able to scale up and scale out as the application popularity grows, and we'll be able to accommodate it with the users.
Fantastic, Mark. I mean, I don't know how much, like would say Couchbase makes it easy, but you definitely made it look easy in terms of being able to add functional capabilities, deployment capabilities, scale up, and also sort of test those scenarios out where you can actually have outages and yet not have the users feel the brunt of that. So it looks like you've thought through in terms of how the system ought to scale, both in terms of functional needs as well as in terms of deployment needs. You told me this also before, but I think this application could also be now extended to the edge using the mobile capabilities. And sometime in the future, let's build that stuff as well, so we can show this entire application in the palm of our hands, and people can sort of get to see more of the power of this platform. So thank you very much, Mark, for sort of pulling it all together. I was taking a gamble here, but you lived up to your name. That's all I can say.
Well, luckily I had Couchbase on my side, and it made everything easy. So I hope everyone enjoyed the application, and thanks for the opportunity, Ravi.
Absolutely, it's definitely my pleasure and a privilege to share the stage with you and bring this lovely application to light. And going forward, we'll be using this internally also. So it is fantastic value in terms of what we can bring to both our developer community, to our developer advocates, and for us ourselves to learn how we ought to be engaging here. Really fantastic demonstration. Thank you so much. And this showcased the full capability of the platform, all the way from a simple key value lookup to a search and a query, a analytics capability by joining data between two disparate systems, yet not moving the data, and finally using the Kubernetes operator. I hope you all enjoyed the develop with agility and deploy at any scale capabilities that's built into this platform, and reducing the number of connectors exponentially in bringing this rich application to life so quickly. Thanks for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. You will hopefully enjoy so many other sessions where people will dig into all the great application and software logic they have built to make this whole thing fairly simple. Once again, have a fantastic time at Couchbase Connect, and look forward to seeing you all in the virtual hallways sometime soon.